Now, since being erected more than 2 weeks ago, the statue of Baroness Margaret Thatcher has repeatedly been vandalised by sets of left-wing and Marxist zealots. Take a look at some of the disgusting desecration of the memorial. But true to form, the Iron Lady stood firm in face of attack. The 3-metre-high bronze statue looked resplendent as it was officially unveiled in her hometown of Grantham yesterday. Mayor Graham Gill did the honours, unveiling a quote from Maggie reading, "I have fought a good fight, I have finished my course, I have kept the faith." One notable audience member was 1922 committee chair Sir Graham Brady, who of course is the recipient of the letters of no confidence in Boris Johnson. Currently 28 Tory MPs have publicly called for the PM to resign. However, with an embattled Tory party fighting on several fronts, I believe what the government requires is stability. And they would do well to learn from the traditional Conservative values that Mrs Thatcher embodied so strongly. Nile Gardiner, of course, former advisor to Margaret Thatcher, you remain one of her protectors of her legacy on earth. Isn't it about time the current Tory leadership looked for Thatcher? Because I think one of the main problems with Boris at the moment is that he seems to have lost touch with what it means to be a true Conservative.
Well, thanks very much, Dan, for having me on the show tonight here in London. And just firstly, in response to the disgraceful attacks on Margaret Thatcher's statue, this is basically an example of the moral bankruptcy of the left here. Margaret Thatcher won 3 general elections in a row. She was a lady of tremendous principle, courage and conviction. She liberated Britain from a socialism. The socialists lost. They resent that. And now you have far less left activists attacking her statue. It's a further demonstration of how, the left have lost the war of ideas here. They're resorting to vandalism.
Indeed, because, look, I'm not into identity politics, and neither was Margaret Thatcher. So to me, it's almost irrelevant that she was a female Prime Minister. But can you just imagine if the first female Prime Minister of this country came from a left-wing party and didn't have a statue at Westminster because the authorities bottled it? It just wouldn't happen. And by the way, I think we should note the Labour Party still haven't had a female leader.
Yes.
And we're in 2022.
Exactly. And as you say, Margaret Thatcher would have fundamentally rejected identity politics. She would have fought against the woke left. And, of course, the woke left fundamentally hate everything Margaret Thatcher stood for. And she was a real titan on the world stage. She was a great champion of freedom and liberty. And, of course, the socialists hate freedom and liberty, and that's why they're attacking her. And with regard to the state of the Conservative Party today and Boris Johnson's leadership, I really do think that, Boris needs to return fully, wholeheartedly to the Thatcherite roots of the modern-day Conservative Party. We need more Thatcherite policies here. We need limited government, lower taxes, deregulation. We need a very different approach on the economy, I think, to be taken by the British government. And I think that Boris's position would be significantly strengthened if he shifted the policies towards Thatcherite principles and ideals. And I hope that Boris Johnson remains as the Prime Minister. He delivered Brexit. He's shown outstanding leadership over the Ukraine crisis. He's the right man at the right moment when it comes to really delivering for Britain. He's also, I think, a deeply patriotic figure, and I've had the pleasure of hosting Boris in Washington on a number of occasions.
Which is where you're based.
Yes, that's right. And I think he is a very strong leader. But I do think that Boris Johnson needs to really lead the Conservative Party from the right, based upon solid, conservative, Thatcherite principles. He needs to be cutting taxes, reducing government spending, and getting big government off the backs of people, basically. So we don't need to see the Conservative Party drifting in any way leftwards. That's not going to help the Prime Minister either, actually.
Well, I know, because we've just seen in Australia, haven't we? Their Liberal Party, which is the equivalent of the Tories, tried to compete with the Labour Party, and it ended up with them out of government. Scott Morrison voted out. And I feel at the moment, even though I'm completely with you, I think Boris Johnson is the right man for the job. He is a proven winner at the ballot box. I don't think his policies at the moment are proven winners. It's almost like he's trying to outbid the Labour Party at times.
Yeah, it would be a complete disaster if the Conservatives shift to the left, if they adopt the policies of the left. And when Conservative parties do that, they always lose because they lose the grassroots, the beating heart of their own party. Conservative voters will abandon the Conservatives if they adopt socialist style policies. This never ever succeeds. And as Margaret Thatcher says, you really have to listen to the beating heart of Middle England, because I do believe that Great Britain is at heart a conservative nation that believes in conservative ideals and principles, the ideals of liberty and freedom. And when those are abandoned, it's a very dangerous path for any Prime Minister to be taking. And I do hope that the Prime Minister will look at the example of Margaret Thatcher and see how she successfully led Great Britain. He's a big admirer of Lady Thatcher. I hope he follows her beliefs, ideals, principles and example.
Well, just finally, on that note, he also needs to stare down the unions like she did,
absolutely.
Right? Because the RMT threatening months and months of chaos, essentially.
Precisely. The socialist trade unions will do their best to undermine and even destroy the British economy. And the Prime Minister needs to stand up to the unions. He needs to follow Margaret Thatcher's example. And he really needs to reject socialist attempts to undermine this truly great nation of Britain.
Nile Gardiner, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Brilliant
Thanks very
to
much.
have you here. Enjoy the Platinum Jubilee.
I definitely will do. Thank you.
Weekend in London.